This episode of the Nerf Herder Council is brought to you by Audible. Visit audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download.
I'm Kevin Thompson. I'm Chubre from Return of the Jedi. You're listening to the Nerf Herder Council.
Warning: the following podcast contains irreverent humor, exceptionally nerdy opinions, potential cursing, and plenty of love for the prequels. If any of the preceding offends you, please turn off this podcast immediately, and may the Force be with you.
Why, you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder!
You can't use that word! Only we can use that word!
What?
You're tuned in to the Nerf Herder Council, your source for Star Wars opinion, conversation, and debate. Featuring your hosts, JT. Stormtrooper armor deflects everything except Orback hooves. They're like a horse version of Thomas the Tank Engine. AJ.
Yeah, Rebels is a lot like our show, where we think we have a good idea and then it just fails in execution.
Steve.
The vacuum of space does crazy things to your beehole out there, man.
On this episode of the Nerf Herder Council, what do you call a resident of Mon Cala who's going through puberty? A quarantine.
Oh, Jesus. That's terrible. How many people do you really think know what a quarren is?
This is the Nerf Herder Council.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. I am your host, JT. Hopefully we figured this out. Doing it long distance. With me is AJ, hopefully. Are you actually there?
Yes, I am not with you, but I am here in spirit.
All right, well, that's one. And should be Steve as well. Steve and I actually figured this out, so...
I am not here. You are hearing this voice in your head.
Skype is our world between worlds tonight.
What, it sucks?
Yeah, exactly.
Skype is a metaphor for life right now.
Yes. Yeah. No, but we are finally doing this from our homes. We are social distancing to the extreme.
Our COVID-19 bunkers. That's where we're hiding right now.
Right.
God, it's just a time warp now, right? I mean, I was late to our own podcast and I didn't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Well,
hey,
you were just trying to keep us on our toes like normal recording. Not a big deal.
Dude, literally,
Exactly.
My phone starts blowing up with text messages from you guys. I'm like, oh, crap, I'm supposed to be on a microphone right now. Oops.
a lame excuse, but okay, we'll go with it.
Hey,
thankfully,
part of the new world we live in is we got to keep things as original, as like normal as we can. And AJ being late for the podcast is just us having a little bit of normal in our lives.
keeping the normalcy, right?
Absolutely.
I'm just glad that I figured this out. I think it was 2 weeks ago, because I was asked to. I was in a tweet thread, and another podcast said, "Hey, what would you think about all of us getting together and doing a podcaster hangout? We'll record it and put it out and everything." And I said, "Oh, that'd be cool." And I spent probably the first 5 to 7 minutes talking into the microphone and being like, man, I can't hear why can't I hear anything? This is weird, thinking that no one's hearing me. Meanwhile, they were already recording, and I'm getting messages through Twitter saying, hey, Nerf Herder, we can hear you. So the first couple minutes it features the Nerf Herder Council looking in the camera like an idiot and me mumbling about how nobody can hear me. So yeah,
That's about right. That's the way to represent.
I know, but
You're just
I
dropping
figured it out.
F-bombs and all kinds of things. Like,
yeah, thankfully I didn't. I was very glad that I didn't do that, because I kind of had it in my head. I was like, I don't know any of these people, so it's probably better if I'm not F-bombing like crazy and saying all kinds of ridiculously offensive things.
You just get on the mic. Hey, what's up, fuckers? How you doing today? What's going on?
Right? What the fuck's going on with this damn thing? Blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah,
Like that
nothing
episode
like
Always
that.
Sunny where Frank's Little Beauties, where he runs the beauty pageant and then forgets to turn his mic off when he goes to the bathroom.
I just saw a public official do that. A video of a public official doing that that had me laughing for at least an hour. I could not stop watching it, but
That was fantastic.
yeah. So anyways, yeah,
Link in the show notes.
yeah. Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting times. I mean, everybody's on lockdown, and I myself was actually in an actual quarantine. A coworker of mine tested positive, so the Medina County Health Department actually put me and my family in quarantine. So that ended on the 25th of March. But for 2 weeks before that, I was, officially in quarantine. And when I got out of it, it was a relief because I could finally get back to, not going anywhere.
Yeah, right. I told my wife, I was like, we've been practicing the social distancing thing for 6 years. Like, this is nothing new. I go to work, which I'm still doing because I'm an essential business. I go to work and then I come home and I lock the door behind me and I don't go anywhere. It's literally how I've lived my life ever since we've gotten married. So nothing has changed for me.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of cool though, because there is a lot of crossover podcast stuff going on. Like I did that hangout. AJ jumped in at the end of that one. We're doing another one a week from tonight. So that'll be fun. And I did a guest spot on a very new podcast called Jedi Podcasting. I did that earlier this week. And it's, people are kind of getting together and making the most of it. And it's pretty cool. It's especially with how negative Star Wars social media can be. It's pretty cool that people are doing this stuff and getting together and kind of, making new friends and, putting out all this content. It's pretty cool. And, I have to say, doing that crossover thing, there was a lot of really cool opinions in there that you just don't really come across. I was kind of laughing internally because I was thinking to myself, like, okay, this is definitely a bunch of Star Wars nerds, because it's not the type of conversation that you would have with, like, say, a listener who's like not as hardcore of a fan as we are. I mean, some of the stuff that was coming out, I was like, what the hell is that guy talking about? Like all these different things I'd never heard of.
That's why I never joined those things, because I know I'm not going to contribute anything to the conversation. I know I'm here I'm here for comic relief, and maybe once in a blue moon I have a little nugget of something that sounds normal, but I'm here for bullshit. So there's no way I would ever actually be part of one of those things and contribute anything useful.
It's more fun than you think. I mean, and I think you would know more than you think you do. It's, because I kind of felt the same way, but you kind of get on these tangents and you kind of riff on things, and they bring up.
Plus, I know you guys. I know the bullshit sense of humor that we have, and I'm gonna be really scared to pull the trigger with like a room full of people that I don't know. When I drop some fucked up reference somewhere or some joke and nobody laughs except you, I'm just like, I'm gonna claim that my Skype cut out and just go home. Oops, must have lost the internet. Sorry, guys.
What was funny to me was I last night I sat in on a Google Hangouts thing for mine and AJ's friend Chris Aiken. He does the Classic Metal Show, and they did a Google Hangouts thing just to give like their fans like a extra stuff to do during this lockdown or whatever. And it was so funny because when I was doing the podcaster hangout, nobody talked over each other. It was, we all knew when somebody was done and then somebody else would speak. It was very organized. And the one last night for the Classic Metal Show was basically, it was the two hosts, Aiken and Neely, and then a bunch of their fans were in there. And man, people talking over each other, just like it was, you could tell who's, oh yeah. You could just tell who was used to being on a mic and doing a show and who wasn't. It was funny. So, but yeah.
Are you saying we have a skill?
Actually, you'd be surprised, but yes.
Wow.
I don't believe it. No.
I'll put that on my resume. Nice.
We're not great at it, but it's better than the average person. We'll just put it that way. So,
we do kind of know when to shut the hell up, at least.
Yes. Yeah. So
sometimes.
But yeah, so I mean, what have you guys been doing Star Wars wise? I know that when The Rise of Skywalker came out digitally, They released it early, and I hadn't ordered it yet because I ordered the 3D Blu-ray, like I said on the show before, which is not coming till the end of this month. But it was funny because I was not feeling well that weekend. I think if I remember right, it was like the first weekend that all of this quarantine stuff went down, and I was up in my man cave just kind of hanging out, and it was, God, I think it was 2:00 in the morning or something. And I happened to go on Twitter for some reason. I was just like kind of like in and out of, kind of being asleep, kind of not. And I saw people saying, oh, they released it digitally early. They released it. I was like, holy crap. So I bought it real fast. And I'm like, all right, let's see if this works on all my platforms. And in the process of doing so, I ended up watching like the first 20 minutes of the movie. And I went, oh, man, I can't start this now. It's like 2:30 in the morning. It's like a 2.5 hour movie. I'll be up till 5 or 6 a.m. And I was walking downstairs to lie down in bed, and I stopped and I went, I can't. I'm having a hard time falling asleep because I feel like crap anyway. I'm just going to plug my headphones into the PlayStation downstairs in the living room and just fall asleep to it. So I literally watched most of The Rise of Skywalker till like 5:00 in the morning. Like, and then the next day my wife's is like, oh, I want to watch it. So I was like, okay. So we watched it. And then the next day she says, you know what? I want to watch it again. So I watched it 3 times, like the weekend it came out.
Nice.
So that was, I saw it twice in the theater and then proceeded to beat that mark within about 36 hours of the digital release. Like, so I've been rewatching The Mandalorian. I've rewatched a couple of the movies and stuff like that. I've gotten further into Clone Wars. So what have you guys been doing?
Steve?
Actually, our story about Rise of Skywalker is ordered it from the Disney store, which of course we can't go get because all the malls are closed down and stuff. So we ended up just running out to Target to get the physical when it came out the other day. So we watched it yesterday, and then whenever the malls actually open, I'm just going to return my unopened copy back to Target and act like I never bought it. So like I technically have 2 copies coming to me, but I wasn't going to not be able to own this thing while we're quarantined. So I do have it, watched it the other night, and honestly, this is probably a conversation for another show, but I don't want to say I dislike the movie at all. I still love the whole sequel trilogy and everything. But man, I found myself watching it last night, which is probably like my 6th or 7th time watching it. And now I'm starting to actually find the things that are annoying me about the movie. And like last night, I was just sitting there aggravated about the whole Finn force-sensitive tease thing and why it was completely pointless to be part of the movie. And that's just one of a few things that actually was annoying me while I was watching it last night.
You're going to be like an online nitpicker, man.
I don't think I'm going to get that bad, but like for whatever reason, I don't know if it was the mood I was in last night or what, but like ultimately by the time we turned off the movie, because Gwen has turned into a full-blown Raylo, so she didn't want to watch it past the kiss because she said the rest of the movie sucks. I mean, I know it's like 10 minutes, but whatever. You think about the fact that Finn used the Force essentially to acknowledge that Rey had dropped over dead, but then they all just went, yeah, fuck it, and they left her there. And then she goes off into the desert by herself with BB-8. Like, it was just like another one of those things that's annoying me about the movie. Like, all that would have been great had we known that they were making more movies, but since at least, as far as Lucas and everybody's concerned, this whole story is supposed to be done. So to me, just at this point in my life, I'm like, some of this stuff makes no goddamn sense anymore. So
yeah, that's crap, dude. Because it's Disney. This is not George Lucas where he said this is done. I mean,
I kind of feel like that too. I was thinking
they
about
left it open.
Yeah, I was thinking about that at work today, where I'm like, Disney owns the thing now. If they just want to come out 3 or 4 years from now and go, you know what, to hell with what George wanted, we're going to continue with the story. A lot of people are going to have bugs up their asses about it, but ultimately, we're just going to be like, hey, cool, we're going to get new Star Wars.
I still think they're going to do it. The character of Rey is too popular. You've got this massive female main character to build off of. It's,
And then, like
You
I
got
said, teasing the fucking force sensitive stuff with Finn, it made absolutely zero sense to even include that in the movie. Like,
I don't think they're going to do it that way.
I mean, I kind of hope not, but at the same point, I'm kind of with John that I'm like, Disney's going to do whatever the hell they want with this thing right now, so who knows?
They are, but I think they've realized two things. First, there is a lot of pushback on this sequel trilogy as far as, like, does it live up to the shoulders of the original trilogy on which it's based? And they've also realized how much success they've been having with all the stuff that's not the main series. So right now, their best bet is to steer clear of episode 10, 11, 12 and make it like a generational thing. We had the original trilogy in the late 70s and early 80s, and then it took 16 years to come out and do the prequels, and then another 10 years beyond that to get onto the sequel trilogy. Like, if they leave it until like 2030 or something and then pick up 10, 11, 12, they can do a whole bunch of stuff in the meantime, and then people will be clamoring for more of the mainline story.
I see. What I think
that's
they're gonna.
true, but Disney loves money too much, so I don't know if they would wait that long.
Yeah,
But they've already got movies and projects mapped out for the next decade anyway that don't involve the main story. So it's not like we're going to have a lack of content.
Yeah, but do we? Well, I mean, do we know how much it's mapped out? I mean, personally, I think they set themselves up perfectly with this thing with Rise of Skywalker. Saying it's the end of the Skywalker saga, just the way the movie ends, where she kind of walks off with BB-8, like it's Luke walking off with R2 to see what it's. The juxtaposition there, whatever. They set it up to where, oh man, who knows what Rey is going to do, because now that they've said, and because they've said, oh, the Skywalker saga's over, and she just kind of goes, I'm Rey Skywalker, whatever. They don't have to stick to the trilogy format. They can still use these characters and have them go off on these adventures in like a single movie, or if they want to do like a two-parter or something. But they can still use these characters, and I really think they will. I don't see how, to Steve's point, a company like Disney that just loves printing money, how you have a character like Rey that is so beloved, and you just all of a sudden stick her on the shelf and go, yeah, we're done with that. You don't do that.
You might see more Rey stories, but hasn't Daisy Ridley said that she's, pretty much good at this point? Like, she doesn't want to come back and do anymore?
Yeah, well, a lot of the Marvel actors were like that too, until they said, yeah, we'll give you $50 million to be in a movie. And they went, to quote Kung Pao, Enter the Fist. Okay.
Yeah. There's even rumors of Robert Downey Jr. coming back somehow again.
Yeah.
So
and then there's also the possibility that they left the story open not for live action movies, but I mean, if Daisy Ridley and them don't want to come back, they can always animate the hell out of it or something and continue the story, be it through comic books, be it through animation on TV, whatever. So I mean, there's like ultimate or infinite possibilities for them to screw around with right now.
Yeah, I think. I mean, what we can tell from what's already mapped out for the rest of the year is they're doing this whole High Republic initiative. So they're purposely going in a completely different time zone where they can make all new characters, and and none of them are for animation or live action. So if the books and the comics take off, then they can do some live action interpretations of it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. It's, the High Republic is just a publishing thing. So they're not going on Disney Plus. They're not putting out a movie saying, here's completely brand new Star Wars with nobody you've ever heard of. They're not going to piss into the wind like that. I mean, so I don't know. I just really think that we haven't seen the last of these characters, and I think it's completely. I think they've already planned it out.
Goddamn sense, and then that's really going to annoy the hell out of me. So.
And I have to tell you, Steve, I love Gwen, but don't start getting your opinions from Raylos, because no offense to anybody that's like that, but most of the ones I've dealt with online are the most irrational thinkers that you'll find in the Star Wars online fandom.
Honestly,
so I don't,
and even Gwen will admit to it. The Raylos that came out after 7 and 8, she couldn't stand. But once you start to actually piece some of the crap together after episode 9, some of it actually makes sense. Like, some of the annoyances that are coming through, I'm like, okay, I can see that. Like, and not that I'm jumping on board with it, but I can sit there and just kind of nod my head and go, Yeah, I could see that. So I don't think it's all insane anymore, but yeah, I remember we have had our fair share with Raylos, especially around episode 8 that were really, really, really bad. And so yeah, I guess it depends how long you've been claiming it.
I just think that, that outlook,
because once you explain the dyad and all that stuff, it was easy to actually see that be a thing on screen with the two of them, and then for it to last 5 minutes and be done. It's like, okay, I kind of do see some of the complaints that they have, but at least as far as my wife goes, I could see that. And that's not just me kissing her ass. It's just that it's like, you watch the movie enough times, you go, okay, as I'm looking at it on the screen while she's explaining it, I go, okay, look, I'll be damned. You're kind of right in your explanation of this. Okay.
Yeah,
Ray just has shitty taste in men. Okay, can we just say that bluntly? I mean, you got Finn, who's fawning all over her, would do anything for her, tries to lay down his life for her. He gets friend-zoned. But then this mass murderer who tries to enslave the entire galaxy. No, let's go and kiss him. Let's make out with him. Yeah, sure.
No, but Ray doesn't
the dark
love
side
him.
in her.
Yeah, Ray doesn't love him. She loves his alter ego.
Yeah,
she fell in love with a guy with a split personality.
Ben Solo's a pussy. Dude, if you've been keeping up on any of the recaps of the Rise of Kylo Ren comics, Ben Solo sucks.
Why?
Because he never even turns evil. That's the whole dumb thing about it. The whole crux of the series is supposed to show how he became Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren's dag nasty evil. So I got to see him doing something truly bad. No, he doesn't even kill any Jedi like he's supposed to. He is tasked with doing it, and the guy named Ren that's trying to recruit him into his group ends up killing him for him.
And then Ben kills him, right?
Yeah, Ben ends up having to kill him. So basically, he's still a hero. But because he killed the leader of the Knights of Ren, he becomes the leader of the Knights of Ren.
Is that why they just showed up out of nowhere, basically in episode 9? They're like, dude, they're sitting out there chilling, and they're like, dude, you're what the hell? You're supposed to be our leader. You could use us. We're here. You could put us on the clock. He's like, oh, these guys again. All right, fine. Come on out to the snow planet. Come on.
And then you watch episode 9, and you see how he single-handedly just mauls every one of them, and you go, well, no wonder why he didn't want your incompetent asses out there doing anything.
Right?
This guy comes out there in a turtleneck and shit and just whoops your fucking asses. What good were you going to do, against anybody else, dude? These guys were fucking bums, man.
A turtleneck. I'm picturing some artsy French guy with the little pencil-thin mustache.
Basically.
I was slaughtered. The Knights of Ren.
Ben Hipster Solo comes out and just destroys all of them.
He's got a macchiato in one hand. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that storyline. The comics, I don't follow the comics because there's so many of them. I can't really follow what the hell's going on.
I don't either. I've basically just read things online that were bits and pieces of stuff, so I know real small bits and pieces of the turn, from Ben to Kylo Ren, but not every detail by any means.
Yeah, I mean, I just think back to the Raylo thing. I don't. A lot of the stuff, and granted, I can't say this is all Raylos because it's basing this opinion off of what I see on Twitter, and obviously you can't take that as the whole fandom says. It's a loud portion of people on social media, but it's almost like they wanted the romance angle to be front and center. It was almost they wanted it to be some huge major thing, and I'm just like, I mean, you got to understand, they can't do that. It's like the people that were complaining. They said, oh, well, the lesbian kiss only lasted a second. That's bull crap. It's like, well, they can't really have lesbians making out. They can't have gay people making out in a Star Wars movie because, Disney is trying to make a movie that appeals to everybody. So unfortunately, the main demographic for a Star Wars movie is either little kids or middle-aged straight white dudes, basically. I hope that doesn't sound misogynistic. I hope you understand what I'm saying. But it's like they can't just go, okay, well, here's two gay people just completely making out, because then the closed-minded pigs of the world are going to throw a fit. Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of those people are the target audience.
The Star Destroyers are getting like blown up and everything, and you just see a couple of guys like, fuck it, I've always loved you. And they start making out on the bridge while it catches fire. And
it's
a couple of the horses down on what the hell planet did they end up on with the
the Death Star.
Yeah.
Kef beer.
Yeah.
Wherever they ended up at, the horses, couple of gay horses just start mounting each other and shit. Like, it just, like 14 times through the movie, you're like, damn, dude, like they were really pushing this homo angle. Holy shit.
Disney's like, screw it. We're we're going all in on this diversity thing. Screw it.
I can only base it on like what my wife has been doing, and no, she didn't think it was front and center or needed to be front and center, but at the same point, she was kind of like, Han got Leia and Anakin, at least to an extent, had Padme, that kind of ended weird, but but to finally have something that kind of seemed like it was slowly built up over 3 movies, and then have it there for like 2 seconds and then go, oh yeah, he's dead now. It is kind of shitty if you think about it from that standpoint, but like,
yeah, but wouldn't it have been nice if it didn't have to end in romance? Isn't that also a good message to say that 2 people can be physically compatible based on whatever sexual orientation they happen to be and not hook up?
Yeah.
It could have been, but at the same point, it's been in all 3 trilogies too. So,
but to me, that's an even better reason to not have it, because you've already done it. I mean, you know what I mean? And they did themselves in with the kiss, because they're like, oh, the kiss was platonic. Like that is no platonic kiss. I'm sorry. No, that is not.
It wasn't.
That is not.
Like when we watched that part of this movie yesterday, right before Gwen turned it off, I'm like, I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Yep. Yes.
I mean, Dooku was kind of a silver fox, so if Anakin was gay, that totally could have been a thing.
Right.
While they were sitting at the space opera, he just reaches his hand over into Anakin's thigh and starts telling him the story of Plagueis.
That's a deleted scene. Yeah, I don't know, man. With that kiss, like,
Have I ever told you the story of...
Jesus. Mute that mic, goddammit. I was like, they were trying to explain away the kiss as platonic in the novel. And I'm like, look, I'm not trying to further my own agenda of saying, okay, I never really saw a romantic angle through the first 2 movies. I'm just one of those people that was like, maybe I wasn't looking for it, maybe I didn't care. Like, but to me, I was looking at that like, all right, they're into each other kiss. I mean, I have a lot of female friends, and I've kissed some of them on the lips, like a goodbye, like, hey, catch you later type of thing. We're real close. And I have never done that.
Have you ever reached behind him and pulled him in tighter and held him for like a solid 10 seconds on your lips because you're like, you know what? I really appreciate how good of a friend you are to me.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of messed up. So, but, yeah, I don't know. The Raylo thing just ain't for me, but
oh yeah, it's definitely not for me. But like I said, like I kind of see where some of it is coming from now that we've got all 3 movies. Like I said again, not kissing Gwen's ass. It's just that I'm like, I can see where the hell you're coming from with some of the things you're complaining about now.
Yeah, and honestly, the Raylo thing, as much as it's not my cup of tea, it's another reason why I think they're totally not done with the whole Rey thing. And I don't think they're done with the Rey and Ben Solo thing either, because I mean, they started introducing all these new force powers, and the whole, they can touch each other through the force and all this crap. Right. And they introduced, Yoda being able to influence the physical world and whatever, Luke Skywalker lifting the X-Wing, catching the lightsaber and stuff. So, they've already said that force ghosts can do stuff in the real world. So, I mean, that's
if
just
Rey gives
another
birth to ghost babies, I'm rioting.
I don't think
and it's Star Wars. I mean, they can make up whatever the hell rules they feel like as they go along at this point. There's no like map. There's no trajectory anymore. They could do whatever the hell they want. So there's like, now that Disney owns it and everything, like they can just be like, you know what? We're going to raise everybody from the dead. Screw it. You know, like Luke is back and Leia's back. Everybody, let's bring them all back and have a fucking party. Like they can do whatever they want now. So
yeah, I think they will. I really do. I mean, there's so much to be mined there that it's, you know, I don't know. I mean, but I wanted to ask you guys something that we touched on a few minutes ago, but we haven't really mentioned on the show. Like, are you guys excited at all for the High Republic thing? Because as much as I don't really get into the novels as much as, you know, some other fans do, I have to admit, like, I'm gonna definitely check out the first one just to see what it's like and everything, because, you know, it could be cool. I mean, it's something completely brand new, and I think that, at least for me personally as a fan, they have some, you know, they got some, you know, money in the bank with me in terms of my fandom based on how well, you know, Solo and Rogue One and The Mandalorian and whatnot came out. So I'm definitely at least going to check out the first book and see what sort of, you know, atmosphere it has, and, you know, where, you know, what the Jedi were like and how they're going to portray that. I mean, are you guys looking forward to that at all, or?
Steve, this might be a better one for you because you and Gwen are very much more into book characters. They don't resonate as much with me, so I don't know. How do you feel about this? Because I'm going to have a hard time attaching myself to anything that's just on a page instead of in front of my eyeballs.
I'm not going to say I'm excited for it, but the fact, kind of like what John was saying, just to piggyback it, that it's like, okay, it's something new, at least to me, you know, like, because I never got into the Knights, you know, and the Old Republic and all that stuff. So this is all going to be brand new to me. So I'm like, I'm kind of intrigued, I guess is the right word to say, you know, of what this is going to be. And since Gwen is super into the novels right now, I'm like, I don't even have to read the damn thing. She can just read it and freak out on the couch, and then I'll go, what was that? And she'll tell me everything that's happening. So I'm just going to get it verbatim anyways without even having to read the book. So
No, nice.
Gwen is your own personal Cliff Notes.
it's my own personal audio, my Audible audio thing.
So you're not going to go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your free trial and a free audiobook download?
That's not how it goes. You botched it. Leave the plug up to me.
It's all factually true. I'm just not as good at saying it as you are.
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to it. Again, you know, because it's not attached to anything we've ever seen before or, you know, heard of before, I don't think that I don't know that I'll have the same problems that I've had with some of the other novels where they get a little bit wordy for me. You know, because this is something completely brand new. I think I'll be able to come at it with kind of like a fresh sensibility. So, you know, I'm excited for that. And also, you know, one of my very favorite aspects of Star Wars is the Jedi and the Force and lightsabers and stuff. It's just, you know, it's a very, you know, vanilla way of looking at it, I suppose. But I've always liked that aspect of it. And the fact that this explores the backstory of an era of the Jedi that we haven't seen is pretty cool. And I have to admit that I'm very glad that they didn't go back like to the Old Republic stuff like 1,000 years ago, because that I think is just so far removed from anything that we know that it didn't really hold a lot of interest for me. I think it was just too. It was just way too far in the past. It'd be kind of like, you know, Lord of the Rings with Star Wars, and I don't like any of that stuff. I like the Lord of the Rings movies. I enjoyed the Hobbit movies, but anything else in that type of genre holds zero interest for me. So if they were to do something Star Wars-ish that old, I'd be like, whatever. I don't think it would really grab me like this is.
Yeah, and it's good that they're starting in a completely uncharted era of the timeline too, because they're kind of wide open to tell whatever stories they want and create all the new characters. But like you said, it's not so far back that, like, you know, I know for 1,000 generations the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy, so fine. But I always had a problem with the Old Republic stuff where it looked basically identical to, quote, current timeline Star Wars. Like, really? Like, nothing has changed over 1,000 years in their timeline. They still got lightsabers. They still got clone or stormtrooper looking guys. They still got Jedi and Sith. And, like, I can buy into it if it's only a few hundred years ago. But if they go too far back, I'm like, okay, what are they using? Like, sticks? Did they not invent lightsabers yet? I mean,
that's what I was just picturing, like cavemen banging sticks up. That's the original Jedi were just more limber than other people because they could bend over and pick the sticks up, whereas the other guys couldn't. So that's where the first lightsabers came from.
Right. Plus, we see like they talk about like we're getting new force powers in every movie.
The first lightsaber was just a stick that they lit on fire.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so what force powers would they even have? Like, discovering the force would be like the first thing. It'd be like fire to a caveman.
The first force powers was reading.
Look that up
we
in the
can see
Jedi
the
manual.
sacred Jedi texts being written.
Yeah. This guy can write. This guy knows math. Oh my god! Let's get these guys some
Quick, find a tree.
lightsabers,
Put
man.
that shit in there.
Yeah, let's hide it in a tree. No one else will think of that. We're not at that mental level yet.
The first Jedi Council was just a guy that could read, a guy that could count, and a guy that could take papaya and make it into paper so they could write shit down.
What the hell is that, by the way? I just realized this. So we're all the way to the point where, like, we can make books and manuscripts, and instead of, like, building some place to put them, we just stick them in a hollowed-out tree?
Well, on an island that nobody can find, like, we are the bastions of truth and justice in the galaxy. We hold all the knowledge of how to keep the peace and how to run a beautiful existence. So we're going to hide the shit on an island nobody can friggin' find with a bunch of dumpy little birds shitting all over the place. Good idea.
Didn't think that one through, did you?
They're just looking. They're looking at the porgs, and the porgs are looking back at them and stuff. And they're like, "You're gonna protect the Jedi text," and they're just like,
Right?
looking
What
at
if
them all stupid and shit.
What if the porgs are actually like super intelligent? They have like British accents. They're like, all right, the Jedi are like, we're gonna stick these books in this tree, and and the porgs like, look at these assholes. They fly in a spaceship. They can come all the way across the galaxy, but they've got to put fucking books in a fucking tree. What a bunch of dingbats.
They've got computers on their ships, and they're writing things down with paper.
It's like the dolphins and the mice in the Douglas Adams books.
Right.
But I mean, that is kind of something that no one ever brings up. People are busy nitpicking all these little things, in the movies. Like, does Kylo Ren have two TIE fighters or what? It's like, hey, can we just go back to the fact
Hey,
that
that
the
was my
Jedi,
nitpick. You shut up.
Hey, I've seen it elsewhere, but I mean, people are doing that, and yet no one has thought to go, son of a bitch, man. They could fly through hyperspace, they could jump across the galaxy, do this, that, and the other, but they can't figure out how to put their shit on paper into a computer on one of these spaceships. What the hell? Like, not only do they put it on a flammable substance, but they bury it inside of another flammable substance. What the hell's going on here?
Would have been funnier in episode 8 if they found the sacred Jedi text and then they opened the book and there was just like a USB 3 drive inside there.
Yeah, it's like hollowed out, like the Bible in Shawshank Redemption.
There's just a Sony Vaio laptop inside one of the books.
Yeah, that's
a thick ass gateway computer laptop just chilling in there.
that's what they're gonna talk about in the High Republic. There's gonna be like a whole ton of Jedi. Like, we need to hide these texts on this island, and there's gonna be one guy that gets shunned. He's like, guys, we really need to put this in a computer so that shut up, Frank. We're putting it in a tree and on paper. All right.
Trust me, nobody's gonna look for it here.
Yeah.
Now I want a Jedi named Frank.
Best one. All right, we're in the Jedi Council. Everyone go around and give your name. I'm Kiadi Mundi. Hi, I'm Plo Koon. Hi, I'm Anakin Skywalker. Hi, I'm Qui-Gon Jinn. Hey, I'm Frank the Jedi. What? I said I'm Frank. Move on. Move on. I'm Mace Windu.
Like, shouldn't you be starting a bowling team or something?
That's what Frank looks like. He's got like the dirty wife beater and like the 5 o'clock shadow and stuff. He looks like Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, just sitting on the council.
How come every time we get together for Jedi Council meetings, I'm in charge of bringing the beer?
Yeah, he's the beer run guy.
I'm in charge of bringing the blue milk. This is bullshit.
Yariel Poof gets the pizza, and Frank the Jedi gets the blue milk.
All I want to know is, are we going out for wings after the council meeting or not?
No, I'm just picturing Carl and the Jedi Council.
They're having the council meeting, and he's there licking hot sauce off of his fingers. Hey guys, I missed lunch. Do you mind if I brought it with me to the meeting?
He's got a to-go bag between his legs. Oh my God.
How do you get buffalo sauce off a lightsaber hilt? Asking for a friend.
This shit is staining my robes, damn it.
Hey, Windu, do you got a fucking wet nap over there I could borrow?
He's got the wife beater, but he's still got the Jedi robes, so he basically looks like the dude.
He's got the robe on and a wife beater and some boxers because the rest of his garments are like over at the dry cleaners or something.
Right? See, we need to just come up with
Nobody
our
told me we was getting together on Wednesday, and I was getting my fucking clothes cleaned.
So we need to come up with our own Jedi Council. We've already got Carl. Now we've got the dude. Like, we would have an awesome Jedi Council. They wouldn't get anything done, but they'd be awesome.
They could have saved millions of lives. They would have lost that war a lot sooner.
Yeah, right?
Can you imagine the clones being led by those guys?
I just picture the dude. Oh my God. Quick, we have to attack. They're coming from our flank. Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man. No, seriously, look, they're over there. Hold on, I got this. This aggression will not stand, man. This aggression will not stand. So do we have to put Walter Sobchak on the council since we have the dude? Is that
He would be Mace Windu, totally.
Probably, yes. Probably. Oh my God. All right, so back off the tangent. AJ, you never said what you're doing Star Wars wise during this whole lockdown quarantine type of thing.
Well, actually, I did a partial marathon. I did not do the prequels. I didn't mean to do a marathon, but I started at 4 because that's the one I usually overlook. Like we said, we think we've seen that thing so many times we just skip it when we're picking a movie to watch. So I started there, and I've just been losing all track of time. So, that one's done. Disney Plus says, hey, you want to try 5? I was like, okay. And then I was like, well, might as well do 6 since 5 is done. I'm like, let's just keep going with this. Boy, man, I'll tell you, we talked about this before. The Last Jedi is like the sorest of thumbs to stick out in the middle of that saga. Like, I love it on its own, but boy, does it suck to watch when you're coming through 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 is just like, what the hell is this thing?
Really?
Oh, it's bizarre.
I haven't done it yet, so I'm waiting. Like I said before, I'm doing the 3D marathon once I get my 3D Blu-ray of Rise of Skywalker. So I haven't really done that yet. But
dude, I'll tell you what, man. Like, Force Awakens, for one, like, it really does feel like it connects well to Return of the Jedi. So they did a fantastic job with that. And the rehash bit at the end is kind of rehash, but I don't think that those bits are any cheesier than any others in previous movies. So I'm actually like more okay with Force Awakens now than I used to be.
Okay.
And especially because 9, for all of its faults, feels like it, ties to 7 nicely. 8 is just like on its own little island out there. Like, it's just bizarre. Like we were so ready for the freshness of it when it came out, but now when you're trying to like put it in the midst of an ongoing story, you're like, no, this is like the phone game where someone thinks they're going into business for themselves and they're just going to like stomp all over what they were handed.
I don't know. See, I still love that it was so different, and it added so many new and fresh ideas to the canon. I still really love. I love it. It's you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of why I like Attack of the Clones so much, and so many people don't. But it's completely unique when you put it up against the other movies, and I love that. It's very different, and also it's incredibly bold. And to me, that's very George Lucas-esque. It's like he always wanted to do something different and push the envelope. And man, Last Jedi certainly does that. I'm really glad that Rian Johnson is doing his own trilogy, because I just, what he did in The Last Jedi was fascinating to me. So if he's got a chance to do a whole trilogy, I think it's going to be awesome.
No, yes, definitely.
And through its faults and everything in its own right, you get the throne scene. So, I mean, that's...
oh, hell yeah.
That's worth price of admission on its own. So,
yeah, it's weird. I mean, that movie has so many cool parts, and yet, like the action sequences and whatnot, those aren't the parts that I like the best. It's really weird. Like I love the portrayal of Luke Skywalker. I think that was such a cool thing to do, and it's set up. The Rise of Skywalker perfectly to bring him back to hero Luke that we all know. But the ideas that it sets up are just fantastic. So I like the character moments. It's not even like, like you could say you watch Empire, like, oh, I love the asteroid field, and you love the attack on Starkiller Base and The Force Awakens and all this kind of stuff. But for me, it was like, Luke training Rey about the Force and things like that, and him doing the Force projection and everything like that those are the things that I really, really liked in that movie. It was cool. It was so different. I love that.
Yeah, it's funny, like JJ really latched on to the superficial qualities of Star Wars. Like he got the visuals down, and he tried to make a Star Wars movie as like an homage. And then JJ kind of got it. Not JJ, sorry. Rian Johnson got it in the spirit of George Lucas. Like you said, that independent, daring filmmaker where he takes risks on stuff. So you're never like too comfortable. It's just weird to put them both in the same trilogy together. Yeah.
I mean, but see, to me, I like that, because it kind of, again, I wanted this to kind of stand on its own. Like, it's a very, like I've always said, like the prequels are very different from the original trilogy, which is why I really like it. I don't need to be told the same story again. I don't, that's the reason why movies like, these horror movie franchises get sucky. It's like you watch like a Nightmare on Elm Street, you're like, oh, this is awesome. And then, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is like, okay, whatever. But, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is cool. And then after that, all of a sudden it just gets campy and stupid. You're like, I've seen this already. This is just, it bastardizes itself. And, I like that the prequels didn't do that. And I think The Last Jedi kept, the sequel trilogy from being crushed under the weight of the stuff that came before it, because it does have some original stuff courtesy of The Last Jedi. So I love that. I think it was necessary too. So, I think because of The Last Jedi, it makes this trilogy stand alone completely from the other two in the way that those two were different. So I think it was very necessary to do that.
I do wonder what an episode 8 by JJ would have been like, because a lot of the really cool stuff in 9 was pulled from 8. The dyad and the Force connection that Rey and Kylo had is like at the very core. And that wasn't really, they met in 7, but they didn't set up any sort of a real connection to each other than him digging through her mind. But it wasn't like, 8 really blew that thing wide open, and then they really went for it in 9. So, whether you like 8 or not, if you like 9, you owe a lot to 8 to get there. Yeah.
I think, I think the coolest thing that it did personally was the Luke Skywalker thing. And I argue with my buddy Nick about this all the time. Like, he hates The Last Jedi. That's not Luke Skywalker. I'm like, well, actually, if you extrapolate out the thinking of the Jedi and somebody who's actually like, a scholar of the Jedi religion and the Jedi Order, like, yeah, that very much is. That could be a logical endpoint where Luke is at. And then to have him in episode 9 learning from his mistakes and kind of, ascending to that next level of Jedi knowledge it's cool, man. And I think that's the best thing that it did personally.
Yeah, it was a fresh take for sure.
Yeah, but to your point about, having JJ doing episode 8 or whatever. And then, basically let's just, say it, like having JJ doing the whole trilogy. I mean, on that podcaster hangout, there was, a good 8 of us going back and forth, and, that point was brought up, and everybody pretty much universally agreed that the sequel trilogy does suffer from not having that one cohesive story chopped into 3 parts, like we've discussed so many times. And, I think that's another reason why I'm excited for the Rian Johnson trilogy, because that's going to be one guy doing his thing. So it's gonna be much more cohesive. It's gonna have that flow to it.
Yeah, there's not really gonna be a gray area. The thing's gonna suck or it's gonna be great, but at least it's, like you said, it's gonna be a cohesive story at least.
Yeah,
this is where I wish we had someone on who knows more about like how to make movies, because the original trilogy was George Lucas's story through all 3 chapters, but a different director for each one. And yet they didn't feel jarring. The tone didn't shift in a way that was like, left field the way Last Jedi was. So is it just the story that needs to be consistent and you can present it in different ways and it'll still feel cohesive? Or is there more to it than that?
No, I really think you need a cohesive story, because the director can take it in different directions. But if you have the story point there, I think that's, look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. A lot of that stuff was based on material that had already existed. So what you had was an existing story that all tied together, but they had all these different directors bringing their own flair to it. And they all felt like a Marvel movie, but they also had a different feel between each of them. So I really think it's a case of it's a story question. You can't just go, all right, I'm gonna write the first part and then just start from scratch on the second part. Go, okay, now I'm going to write this based on, it's kind of like, I'll equate it to like to writing music. It's, it's like these bands where, they'll come out with an album, 15 years into their career and go, oh, we're going back to our roots. We're going to make it sound like this album we did 12 years ago, because that's when we were awesome and everyone loved it. We're going to do that. And it never sounds like that. It never lives up to it, because they're trying to do something based on what came before. Whereas, and I think, this trilogy suffered from that, because they were, okay, well, now we have to let's write based on this thing. There's that certain thing in your head. That's a starting point. You don't have that open blank canvas to work with.
Okay. So yeah, your musical equivalent would be something like Def Leppard Euphoria, which wasn't written when Hysteria was written, but they tried to like make it sound like a follow-up, compared to like Different Kind of Truth from Van Halen, which was largely based on riffs and stuff that they had written back in their early days.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, people, the Van Halen fans, when A Different Kind of Truth came out, a lot of people complained, oh, they just took a whole bunch of old demos and redid them. It's like, yeah, but the one thing that most fans agreed on was that it sounded like classic Van Halen with David Lee Roth. So, and that's because it was written during their heyday. That was their stuff. Whereas, the stuff where they started from scratch was you can obviously pick what songs that they started from scratch on, because they sound way more modern, and they're vastly different than the stuff that was, pulled off of demos from, 1976, 75, stuff like that. So, so yeah, and a perfect example using that album, AJ, because that's exactly what that's a perfect example.
Tying it back to Star Wars, I wish, they'll never fess up to it, but I would love to know how much of George Lucas's ideas made it into the sequel trilogy. They've glossed over the minor bits, but I wonder really how much of George is in this thing at all.
I would love to just know what his idea was, period, because we heard that it was he wanted to delve deeper into the midichlorians, and something about that just doesn't sound right to me because he got absolutely crucified for midichlorians when that concept was introduced in the prequels.
He even steered away from it in 2 and 3. He just, outside of Phantom Menace, did they ever mention it again?
No. I mean, it wasn't. It was just an explanation for the Force in the Phantom Menace. So I mean, maybe he wanted to delve deeper into it and explain it all. But it just seems to me like, how can you make 3 more movies based on microscopic organisms? Like, that just sounds so stupid. And I know he likes to push the envelope and everything, but that just sounds like just cutting your own throat,
Well, like you said, Disney likes to make money, so maybe they did hear those ideas and they were like, no, we can do better than this, man.
Yeah. Well, he was mad that they basically scrapped what he had. I mean, that's been widely reported. So apparently they didn't use almost anything. Old
Man Luke is about it.
Yeah. I mean, he was consulted for The Mandalorian a little bit, I guess, but that, other than that, I don't know, man. If I was doing Star Wars, if I was one of these guys, I'd be having George Lucas in my ear like crazy. I'd have him help me write this stuff and not tell people, so the people don't get all up in arms. I'd wait till it came out and but hey, guess what? This is partially written by George Lucas. So
if it sucks, blame him.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, one more quick thing, and then we'll get out of here. But I actually got trolled the other day, and I didn't even recognize it because I don't subscribe to that bullshit of April Fool's Day. So it never occurred.
I hate that so much.
Yeah, it never occurs to me. And I saw an article on Wednesday morning. It was April Fool's Day, and I didn't know. I didn't pay any attention. And it was saying that later this year on Disney Plus, they're going to, because of the lockdown thing, they're going to re-release the original cuts of the original trilogy. So, the fans have been clamoring for it. It's going to happen. It was a reputable site. And I was like, holy crap. So I tweeted it out from our page. I was like, man, if this happens, this would be pretty cool. Like, I don't particularly care, but it'd be interesting to watch them side by side with special editions and everything. And yesterday, late evening, I had a couple people respond to our tweet saying, no, that's not happening. Look what day it is. It's April Fool's Day. And I was like, oh, man, you know what? I totally got suckered in. And then I was pissed. I'm like, man, whoever came up with this is just stupid. Like, I hate April Fool's jokes. It is so annoying. And I got suckered in right on our show page.
Nice.
So
now you jog my memory, and now I'm pissed at Twitter, too. Because I got a notification this morning from Moe's Southwest Grill that it was $5 Burrito Day for National Burrito Day. And then I got a correction notification later that said, Burrito Day is not quite ready yet. Hold on. So I tweeted at him, and I got no response. I was all excited for a $5 burrito that I'm not going to have now.
What a bunch of assholes.
Chipotle was doing free delivery.
And queso.
Yeah, and I think Jersey Mike's had some like half off all subs, but I think that ended March 31st. I don't know for sure, but Jersey Mike's has like the best like sub shop roast beef sandwich ever. So you can get like a giant roast beef, which is like a $17 sandwich for $8.50, which is totally worth it. So, I don't know if that's
awesome.
Still going
Now
on.
that I'm good and hungry and it's way too late to go anywhere and get dinner, maybe we should call it a night.
Well,
Yeah.
well, before we do that, since we're all in a bad mood already, real quick, part of our
You can tell we're all lonely.
Yeah.
We just keep hanging on to the recording.
part of our bunkers and our hiding from the coronavirus and everything. AJ, you kind of missed out on something that you should have been doing. What, about a week from now?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Oh God, we're really gonna bring that up?
Oh, yeah, because you were going to go see something that the other two of us were not, and part of me is actually kind of happy that you don't get to see it before me.
What do you mean part of me? That's what that is, Steve. That's called karma. He was going.
No,
he was
no.
going.
Okay,
he was
fine.
going
We
to
will get
fuck
into
me
this.
over. He was going to fuck me over, and now he's the one that got fucked. So that's called karma.
Fine. We are going to have this out on the air then. Here's how this went down, listening audience. I found that I was able to afford a trip to go do the Run Disney Star Wars weekend at Disney World. So I was like, all right, I'll do that. I'll go down. I'll check out this foot racing event through Disney World, Star Wars themed. What the hell? That's a good excuse for a vacation. So I set it up. I planned it out. And then I went to my brother and I said, hey, I'm going to go down there and run these races. Why don't you come with me? Because then we can go check out Galaxy's Edge together. And what did you say, JT?
Okay, this is new to me. I didn't know this part, so now I'm waiting too.
Don't worry, Steve. I couldn't get off of work to do it, and I'm also trying to save money. I'm already not going to Celebration this year. I'm 99% sure I'm not doing that because I'm saving money. So I'm damn sure not going to go and just watch you run a race for a couple days.
Or go to Galaxy's Edge, apparently. Which is funny though, because you know who was going to go with me? Your wife.
That's okay.
And you know who was going to pay for it? You. So apparently you could afford to go.
Excuse me. I'm not paying for myself to go. If she wants to spend the money, that's fine, because I would have heard. Believe me, if I go to Celebration,
You
I'm gonna
know
hear
she
crap
doesn't care about going to Galaxy's Edge. She loves to go to Florida for family.
Well, that's fine. The fact of the matter is, I've said on many occasions, when I'm going to Galaxy's Edge is when the hotel opens, and I'm doing the whole kit and caboodle at once. I'm going to stay in the hotel. I'm going to do Galaxy's Edge. It's going to be like, almost like probably a more extreme Star Wars vacation than Celebration. That's
Fine,
when
justify
I am
it all
going.
you want, but you had an opportunity to go, and you turned it down.
Yeah.
You were able to go, and you chose not to.
I was being financially responsible, because if I'm taking a Star Wars trip this year,
fine.
I'm not going to freaking Galaxy's Edge. I'm going to Celebration.
Fine, but don't give me shit for deciding that I wanted to go to Galaxy's Edge.
We do everything Star Wars together the first time. We've done that ever since you saw Return of the Jedi at age 4. And you were breaking that tradition.
Hold on. This is the first time that one of us has opted not to join the other one on a Star Wars adventure.
Yeah, but I had a legitimate reason.
First.
No, because no. See, what you're not telling everybody, ass, is that your plan was not, I'm going to Florida to run a race and go to Galaxy's Edge. Your plan was, I'm going to go to Florida and run the Star Wars race. Okay, cool. Then it became, well, I'm already going to be there, so I might as well go to Galaxy's Edge. And that was determined after I had said, I am not going, I'm going to be financially responsible. So don't act like you came out and said at first, well, I'm going to go to Galaxy's Edge. You want to go? And I said no, because that was not part of your original plan. So at least get all of the details into your little story, okay?
Yeah, but that was known to you before Steph was even part of the plan.
I told you I did not want to spend the money. If I'm not going to Celebration, I'm not going to Florida. It makes no sense.
Just saying, if you want to prove your bona fides as a fan, I was ready to put my money where my mouth is.
Please. I've already done that. I lead you in the Star Wars Trivial Pursuit competition 8-7. So I'm a bigger fan.
You're talking to AR 44216, soon to be TK 44216.
Yeah, well, you're talking to TB, too fat to fit into his armor right now.
And too scared to work on his armor.
I am too scared because now I got stuff that I have to use a ruler on, and I'm like, oh my god, if I screw this up, it's going to look terrible.
Oh Jesus, numbers, no.
Steve, it's like you should see like the parts that I finished. I thought I was done, but it turns out I'm not. I was just so afraid of cutting too far into the part that I left some of the edge on it, and I ended up doing it around the entire thing, thinking it was done, but it was actually me being a chicken.
AJ,
so walking it back
AJ,
for our audience, JT is working on Biker Scout armor.
No, AJ, this asshole's going to look like the Shockmaster when it's all done.
I probably will. I'm going to look like, you know what I'm going to look like? I'm going to look like Peter Griffin in that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look like the Peter Griffin stormtrooper, only in Biker Scout gear.
So yeah, for the audience that has no clue what we're talking about, I'm building my second 501st costume right now. I'm building an original stormtrooper from A New Hope, and JT is building a Biker Scout from Return of the Jedi.
Yep. The coolest stormtrooper armor there is. Love the Biker Scouts, man. So
yeah, this stuff shows up as raw plastic that's roughly formed, but you have to trim off all the excess plastic that it was molded from, and that's kind of nerve wracking because, like you said, if you cut off too much, it's a real pain in the ass to put any back on.
The worst part's the helmet, because the helmet came in 2 pieces. and I don't know how the hell that's supposed to work. So I'm gonna have to like study that Walt's Trooper Factory video on Facebook to see how that guy did it. And then you got people and they're like, oh, I spent 185 hours on my bucket. I'm going, Jesus, I have to spend almost 200 hours on this goddamn thing. Like,
No. These people are obsessive. It's ridiculous.
yeah, I can't. That's gonna be like, I feel like I'll be getting like, two cut lines a night for like 4 years. Like, oh my God, like I just can't do that. So
you're going to be 200 hours in. You're going to have like a 1/4 inch of plastic cut off of it.
that's basically it. Yeah. So,
I do got to question something though, John. I know I do totally understand the financially responsible thing, but you did have a chance to go fly the Millennium Falcon though.
well, like I said, when I go to Galaxy's Edge, as soon as I found out that they're doing like the all immersive hotel, when they made the announcement of Galaxy's Edge and they said there's going to be this big hotel, I said, I'm doing all of that at once. I'm not going to just go to the hotel and then, kind of like, I'm going to go to Galaxy's Edge and then I'll go back for no, when I do it, I want it to be full blown, everything all at once, to where it's like, I am
that's
like,
understandable.
I've always said that. That's always been how I'm going to experience it the first time. And mostly,
dude, I hope you get a chance to do that, honest to God, because I heard that hotel is going to be so limited on space because of the way they're going to do everything that I think it's going to be a complete clusterfuck. Like, it's going to be like you're going to sign up and it's going to be like, oh, you're going to be on a 3-year waiting list or something stupid for it. Like, I think that thing's going to be a mess when it opens up. I hope I'm wrong though.
I'm fine with that because I fully expect a vacation like that to cost like $10,000. And I mean, and that's another reason, because it's like when I go on,
Yeah, they say it's supposed to roughly cost the same as like a Disney cruise.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's going to cost an arm and a leg, and I'd rather just do it all at once. I can plan for it, especially if there's a waiting list. I could set up a whole separate bank account for it and just, save and do it properly so that, I could go there and money is no object and just completely blow it out. And that's how I want to do it. I don't want to do it piecemeal. I just don't. If I'm living in a world of Star Wars, I'm going to live in a goddamn world of Star Wars.
Okay, question for you now. I'm going to put the screws to you here. Knowing how much this is going to cost, and you need this money in the next, let's say, 4 years. Will you skip a celebration? Not this one, because you already planned on skipping it, and you never said it was to save for the hotel.
Yeah.
So are you going to skip the next celebration after this one to save that money for that trip?
I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
Hypothetical. Is it worth skipping a celebration to you to afford this trip to Disney?
I think I can do both. If I'm setting aside for the big trip, because this last celebration was really cost prohibitive. But that's because I just, we get a big bonus at work every March, and I had this new job and I got this big bonus. I was like, screw it, I'm going to blow it out. I never did that in my life. But that's like a once in a lifetime thing for me. Otherwise, celebration really isn't that bad. I mean, honestly, the biggest expense is the plane trip and, the hotel. But the spending money really isn't bad. I mean, especially the way we do it, like getting stuff in our room and everything. So celebration is not that cost prohibitive. I mean,
there, I nailed him, Steve. I just got him to admit on the air that celebration was not a reason for him not going to Galaxy's Edge with me this year. And he also said he could afford a celebration and the Disney trip together.
Have you not been listening to a fucking thing I've been saying? How many times on the show?
I just debunked all your financial reasons.
No, you
period.
didn't. You did no such thing. How, Steve? Did I not just go into detail saying that when I go to Galaxy's Edge the first time, I'm going when everything's open? I'm doing it all at once. Did I not just get through saying that? Did I not say that I wasn't going to this one trip, this year, because I'm being financially responsible? I didn't say I can't afford it. I said I'm being financially responsible. That is not I can't afford it, because guess what? I can afford it. I can afford to do that, and I can afford to go to Celebration later this year. But I'm not doing it because I'm trying to save money, not spend it, even though I have it to spend. So pay attention, ass. Again, this is why you're not running in that race and going to Florida, because karma's biting you in the ass for being a dick. So there you go. And on that note, we'll close up shop. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. AJ's a prick. So there.
We're on some podcasting platforms.
Yeah. We're on a bunch of podcasting platforms. Go listen to the show, Listener 23. Damn it. So, anyways, guys, thanks for checking out another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. You know all the fun places to find us. Facebook, all of our stuff is on YouTube, website, nerfherdercouncil.com. The Twitter account that we are active on is at NHC Podcast. Don't forget that I know at least I will be partaking in a podcaster hangout this coming Thursday, April 9th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will tweet the link out once that's available. A whole bunch of really great podcasts take part in that, and we get into kind of like a freeform discussion on all things Star Wars, but this time we are actually getting into our personal rankings of all 11 live-action Star Wars movies, and it'll be interesting because we just did that on our show, so to bring our personal rankings to a whole bunch of other podcasters should be interesting to see what happens there. So
AJ, let's both of us get super trashed and then jump into that Skype call and just troll the entire thing.
Oh, even without drinking, it's going to be a 5-hour shit show. There's so many voices in there and so many arguments to have.
Episode 2 is and how it's the greatest one of the 11.
See, right there is why you guys would be terrible at it, because like, oh, AJ's like, it'll be a shit show. Yeah, because you guys just talk over each other. You don't wait for the other to speak. You are unprofessional.
Yeah, except I have editing software and we're on separate tracks, so I can actually cut that part.
Yeah, I somehow I think that's not going to happen. But anyway, till next time, I'm your host.
The Clone Wars is the best movie. Okay.
Up your butt, Jobu. I am your host, JT at Dogpound Jedi. He's AJ.
At caravanofcourage.com. Canavan, there we go. Yeah.
All right.
No, at Drake Adams 579.
He's Steve.
At JSteve1005, because I got nothing better to throw in on that.
What was the other one? Wasn't it going to be at Battle of Endor? What was it, AJ? What was the other one?
Battleofendor.org. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And we will catch you next time.
Bucket of bolts is never gonna get us past that blockade.
This bucket's got a few surprises left in her. Plus, me and Chewie are on it. Ain't that right, Chewie?
Hell yeah, you my Nerf herder.
You my Nerf herder.